President Trump dusting himself off and doubling down after the Supreme Court rejected his sweeping tariff powers. The president on Truth Social announcing he's, quote, raising the 10% worldwide tariff on countries, many of which have been ripping the U.S. off for decades without retribution until I came along, to the fully allowed and legally tested 15% level. Steve Moore is co-founder of the Committee to Unleash Prosperity and a former Trump economic advisor. He joins us now. Steve, good morning. Thanks for getting up. I want to get your reaction. Obviously, the big Supreme Court ruling, but yet now the president is leaning into this Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. It's only good for 150 days, but what's your reaction to this and where is this headed?
Well, good morning. And by the way, this morning I'm going to have to be your two-armed economist, on the one hand, on the other hand. Okay. So look, I think it is appropriate for the Supreme Court to rein in the presidential power to impose tariffs. Tariffs are taxes, and it's pretty clear in the Constitution that the taxes have to start in Congress. They have to start in the House of Representatives, and none of these tariffs have ever been approved by Congress. And I think that's exactly what the court was saying, is that we have separation of powers. And incidentally, as a free market, limited government conservative, we don't want to see this president or any president. I mean, imagine you had Kamala Harris or President, God forbid, Gavin Newsom as president. They said, oh, well, I'm going to raise this tax and that tax without any kind of congressional approval. So this does kind of rein in the president's authority to impose certain kinds of tariffs. On the other hand, this president, Donald Trump, who I greatly admire, I think he's done amazing things for our American economy over just the last year. I mean, we have an economy that is really ready to just be lit on fire. He has used the threat of tariffs and the tariffs themselves as a way to get much better deals from other countries. I mean, you know Donald Trump, he's one of the greatest negotiators I've ever seen. He's bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars of money from other countries.
Right.
He's forcing China and Japan and Europe and Canada to lower their tariffs on our goods and services to get a level playing field. Well, so I'm for that.
And Steve, I mean, so just to that point, because you're making such an important point, all of the naysayers said that these tariffs and the president's approach to reciprocity, which is the fundamental drive behind the tariffs, were going to wreck the economy. And yet now all are being forced to essentially say that the president's tariffs, while he took a mass saturation approach, much unlike his first term, it is unleashing the animal spirits of this economy. And I want to get you to this because I thought the Wall Street Journal nailed it. Their headline, the Wall Street Journal report, says Trump's America First agenda has changed the trade landscape forever. Quote, the pursuit of liberalized trade and high-minded principles that once drove U.S. trade policy is gone. In its place is an unsteady equilibrium of tariffs and transactional deals. America trade has moved into a more durably protectionist direction. They go on, by the way, Steve, to point out that we are moving from free trade footing to the reciprocity model. And even though Democrats love to bash these tariffs and think they are taking a victory lap on the Supreme Court thing, is any future Democrat president actually going to deny billions in trade deals brought about by tariffs? Are you going to deny the constituency in places like Pennsylvania and Michigan that because of these tariffs are going to create jobs in factories? You're now going to deny those voters who will defend the tariffs?
Yeah, well, listen, when I saw the president last week, the first thing I told him is I said, congratulations, Mr. President. You have proven 22 Nobel Prize economists wrong. Because remember, when Trump came into the office, there were 22 economists who said, oh, my God, his agenda on trade and all of these things is going to cause another Great Depression. We're going to have a stock market sell-off. By the way, we have the highest stock values ever. They said that inflation would go through the roof. We just got a reading on inflation. Inflation is falling back down to the 2% level that the Fed sets. So they were completely wrong about this. And now, I mean, the problem for Trump now is he's sort of lost an arrow in his quiver when he negotiates with China, when he negotiates with Japan and other countries. And let me make one other quick point. You know, look, I'm for free trade. I understand, you know, without trade, we would all still be living in caves. I mean, we need to have trade. But on the other hand, it is absolutely true. Trump is 100% correct on this. these other countries, most of which are imposing much higher tariffs on us than we impose on them. And so Trump is saying, look, all I want to do is create a level playing field and force these other countries to play by the rules, and they're not doing it. So we'll see where we go with this.
Yeah.
Trump, was it yesterday or the day before, said he's going to impose a 10 or 15% across the board tariff. That'll be temporary. We'll see, what happens next. But I got to tell you, this economy right now is booming thanks to Trump's policy.
It's roaring. We've got to leave it there, Steve. And I bet we're going to hear a little bit about this in that Tuesday speech in the State of the Union. Steve Moore, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Go USA this morning against Canada.
Go USA. All right.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.